At some point might have to learn how to shimmy and pivot to see the screen. You're going to want to follow them on Instagram. That's the best way to keep up with the events. It kicks off tonight. We're like an opening night act for this 4-day-long true crime extravaganza. Saturday, I'm going to hear Amanda Knox on a panel be interviewed about her wrongful conviction. So there's still tickets to that one. Well, to her conviction that was overturned. We can all discuss our opinions on the case later. But she was exonerated, okay, so we gotta give her that. She's guilty of being a little quirky maybe, but maybe didn't kill her roommate, okay? So, welcome to Yellow Tape. Yeah, it's a big day too because we're filming this and we have like a GoPro, so like, have fun with this true crime. A lot of you I know are experts and really into this. I know some of you got dragged here. Either way, you're welcome. Anya is at the bar. She's in the back. She'll be there the whole time. She'll make rounds as well. Happy hour is till 8, so free admission. So buy some drinks, and tonight we're selling merch. We have, if you look at the screen, we have $12 Yellow Tape mugs, $16 for the ice tumbler. The bad news is running a little low in the tumblers. Good news is that means I sold some, so woo! The less, I have to carry home, the better, the more you buy. We love that. $1 from every sale does go to the Innocence Project. Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, I've been doing this show for a year and a half, actually. And the ticket proceeds actually always go to the Innocence Project. And tonight is different because it's free. So feel free to make a donation. You can let us know. We'll have an envelope. But we like to not exploit anybody involved in true crime. We do like to have fun. And we want to do it for a cause. And that makes us feel a little bit better at the end, knowing that we gathered here for a reason bigger than our own entertainment, though we really value that too. I hope you guys have a ton of fun. Let's go over the rules. Next slide, please. Let's see. Nope, we're gonna go back one slide. But now you have a little clue as to what's coming. Okay, 5 categories, and we have an hour. There's a band coming in here to play at 8 o'clock, guys, so I need your best, most focused selves. If you take Adderall, now is the time. And if you don't need it, hats off to you. So, 5 questions, 5 rounds. You need a team name at the top, and when you're done after every round, you're going to hand it to our scorekeeper, who is actually on brand in yellow and black. Raise your hand, please, scorekeeper. Didn't even ask her to do that, so nice. So you can do that. She'll be tallying the scores, and then we will go over that at the end. Without further ado, let's just start playing. Yes. As you might have seen, Ring Around the Ramseys, we're talking about JonBenet. Yes. It's like the OG of true crime, for me at least. Okay. True or false? Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey were criminally charged with the murder of their daughter, JonBenet. True or false? It's like a 50-50 situation here. Leveling the playing field right out the gate. Literally. True or false? Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey were criminally charged with the murder of their daughter, JonBenet. Okay, question number 2. And sometimes my questions sound like small stories, and then there's a question in there, so listen. A suitcase the Ramseys said was not theirs was found in the basement where JonBenet was found. Inside of it, a Dr. Seuss book, a blanket encrusted with semen. Stay with me. The semen was tested for DNA and was found to belong to a member of the family that lived outside of the home. Whose DNA was on the blanket? Just when you thought you knew everything about JonBenet. Whose semen DNA was found on the blanket in this random suitcase in the basement where they found her body?
If you really guess. That's right.
Okay, question number 3. This case had many suspects, several false confessions. Most recently, in January of this year, a past suspect confessed to the murder of JonBenet. What was his name? He was in jail, I think, for another crime, and confessed to a friend through letters. Made a big splash in the news, didn't really go anywhere. We're looking for that guy's name.
Bob.
Spelling is really looked at generously here, just so everybody knows in all answers. Okay, prior to JonBenét's death, John Ramsey's daughter from a previous relationship also died tragically at age 22. Her name was Elizabeth. How did she die? John Ramsey, JonBenét's dad, had a daughter who was 22 and also died tragically. How did she die? Okay, in 1997, we're going back in time, the Ramseys gave their first TV interview. Everybody wanted one. They gave their first one to what news network? So this was Patsy and John Ramsey's first interview. Where was that? What network?
Sure.
Nickelodeon.
Does anybody need a reread of any questions 1 through 5?
Do we get points for fun?
3 points for punniness in names.
Oh, okay.
Well, like favorable points, not actual points. Like I might announce it to the group.
Okay, cool.
Question number 3 was, this case had many suspects and several false confessions. Most recently in January 2019, a past suspect confessed to the murder. What is his name? Number 5. The Ramseys gave their first TV interview in 1997 to what news network? So this was an on-air TV interview. That's how we play yellow tape. So write all your answers, take that first page, bring it to the scorekeeper as we move into the answers and round 2.
I was like, I'm gonna do it, and I was like, you wanna do it?
Okay, that's fucked up.
Alright,
It's our team name.
we'll get it.
Yeah.
I've heard them all. I love them.
I'm just like, if I could do it, like, the dad, next part I don't know.
We get points for questions. We won.
Oh, really? It was super like, straight up
Okay, any teams still working on their first round answers? Okay, everybody's in? All right. So all teams are in, so we can go over Ring Around the Ramseys. True or false? The Ramseys were criminally charged with the murder of their daughter? No, they were not. That is false. They were indicted by a grand jury for knowingly, recklessly, feloniously placing their daughter in a position that led to her death. They were not criminally charged. Okay. Number 2, that suitcase wasn't the little brother, it was John Ramsey's son, named John Andrew Ramsey, who didn't live in the home and was on vacation in Europe at the time, so wasn't even a suspect. But it leads to bigger questions, right? Like maybe an investigation on why a Dr. Seuss book and a baby blanket are in a suitcase in their house. It's just the creepiest trio of items. So that was number 2, John Ramsey's son. If you didn't know his name and you wrote John Ramsey's son, I'll take it. Scorekeeper, John Ramsey's son, that works. Welcome to Yellow Tape. You can jump right in. We're going through round 1, and you can start at round 2. Question number 3 was the suspect who confessed just this year. His name was Gary Oliva. Or Oliva. Gary, and if you just wrote Gary, I'm gonna give that to you because that was a tough one. All right, that's it. I don't know. I know it's disappointing. Prior to JonBenét's death, John Ramsey also had a daughter die tragically. She was in a car accident. Her name was Elizabeth. I know, this is the only place we can say car accident and go, woo! It feels good, doesn't it? Feels good. Last and final question. Where did the Ramseys give their first TV interview? CNN. Classic. Yeah, it was a CNN interview. You got it. All right, shake it off. We're just getting started. We're going to go right into round 2. Keeping it local here, I Heart New York, murders. So these are all going to deal with New York State and city cases, most of which I think you're going to know about. Okay, we're going to start off with something pretty recent here. What Gambino crime boss was shot dead in his Staten Island home just this month? Who was that guy? The Gambino crime boss was just shot dead in his Staten Island home. Who was that? He has a couple names. We'll take all variations.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let me know if you need anything. There's a fact checker.
Okay, that was question number 1 for I Heart New York. Question number 2. Who was the first woman sentenced to the electric chair in New York State? Hint, arson. Oh, I might have stumped a whole room. That was the first, like everyone's just looking at me blankly. Who was the first woman sentenced to the electric chair in New York State? So we're going back in some time, right? This is not recent history. We're looking for her name. Okay. Question number 3. The Preppy murder case of 1986, if you remember, Robert Chambers. He killed Jennifer Levin. Well, I believe he killed her. He's not in prison for that, but he spent 15 years in prison for the murder of Jennifer Levin. Of those 5, no. We're gonna take this back. Robert Chambers went to prison for killing Jennifer Levin for 5 years. Of those 5 years, how many days did he spend in solitary confinement? It's multiple choice. And I'm looking at my answers and I'm thinking 15 is right and 5 years was the typo. So we're going with 5 years in prison, 15 years in prison, and we're gonna have our scorekeeper fact check this. Robert Chambers, years in prison. And here's your choices. This is where we're really gonna score you, okay? Multiple choice. How many days did he spend in solitary? 992, 2002, or 1,592? I think it's gonna help if we know how many years he was in prison, because I feel like I have a typo. 992, 2002, or 1592, 1,592 days in solitary. He was very poorly behaved. I'm gonna look up his sentence. Think we didn't talk enough about cheating? You can't do it. No phones. Only for taking pictures between rounds.
It says 5 to 15.
Oh, he got 5 to 15? So we don't know how many he served? Fact checking now. He served most of his 15-year sentence. Okay, so it was a 15-year sentence of which he spent most of it, and it sounds like he spent most of it, frankly, in solitary confinement. So, 992, 2002, or 1,592 days. Whew, let's move on to question number 4, shall we? Hip-hop legend, Jam Master Jay. He was murdered while listening to and recording new music in his Queens recording studio. What Queens neighborhood was it? Okay, Jam Master Jay of Run DMC was listening and recording new music in his studio in Queens. Which Queens neighborhood was it when he was shot and killed?
For sure. For sure.
No. Go home.
Don't worry. Either way, do you, girlie?
Okay, and the the last question in I Heart New York. What infamous living New York murderer is currently serving out his life term, also responsible for state legislation that forbids criminals and their family members to profit from their story? Okay, so this conviction